how did that come about? You getting that role in Baby Boy?
So here's the whole situation with Baby Boy. So I really have to start with a movie. I have to start with a movie called, I had to laugh first when I start talking about this, called Freedom Song. It's a TNT film, right, about the first sit-ins in Mississippi. Now, I always talk about me being damn good at auditioning. Like, I'm king of the audition room. You know what I mean? Being personable and just connecting with people eye to eye. And I would, people see me coming like, this dude, let us get the role, like that type of thing, right? So I auditioned for this movie called Freedom Song. On Freedom Song, again, I killed the audition. Let's put it that way. You know what I mean? I left feeling like, yeah, all right, about to get that. You know what I'm saying? And I'm coming off of Smart Guy, right? So I'm really trying to get these dramatic roles. I'm trying to get them, but we kind of get put in a box in the 90s. You know what I mean? It was harder for 90s sitcom actors to cross over into, major movies and being taken seriously and actually booking these jobs. But, we could act. A lot of us have act. You see the versatility and the range and, the longevity and whatnot, but we weren't given that shot, right? But so, this was a type of movie that could show my serious side. And ironically, Jason Weaver was in the film too, right? So there's a scene that I've posted online a couple of times of us sitting at the lunch counter. But before I talk about actually doing the film, I nailed the audition, right? But I didn't get the part. They cast someone else. It's from a famous family as well. Then I think in my mind, I'm like, oh, that's why, just because he's whoopty whoop. That's why they gave it to him over me because I'm this and that and the third, But anyway, he goes down to Wilmington, North Carolina to film this. Now he's out there. He gets into some trouble, gets into a fist fight, goes back on set, sees one of the guys. They threaten him. He flees. He literally leaves the set, goes back to Hollywood, flies back to LA. So they're like, damn, we got to replace this guy now. And they call me. Like, hey, man, yeah, remember that role? We want you for that. Like, oh, yeah, well, whatever the other guy, But look at God. So John Singleton is watching this film and says, that's Sweetpea right there. I have one scene where I'm sitting at the lunch counter and it's very intense and we're hoping to get arrested because that was part of the movement, and we do. And then I think I smile at the end, but for the most part, it's just me looking intense. And he was like, yeah, that's him. So what happened was he called my mother, who was my manager, right? And he specifically told her, he said, I made one of your sons a movie star. I'd like to make your other son a movie star as well. And I have the script for him. So she gave me a call, I read the script, brother. It was, at first read, I was very shocked. I was surprised because for someone to be calling me where I was in that career and say they have a part for me, I'm expecting some type of comedy or some type of, something that kind of showcases that lane, But they said, it's John Singleton. You know what he does. He don't do comedy. So I was intrigued. But when I read it and then I saw the role, I almost said, is this the role you want me? Are you sure? Because I was so excited to be able to show that side of me, right? And when I say side of me, when I pick roles, I have to relate to them in some way. It's just that simple. When I say there's certain roles I can do and certain roles I can't do, I know my lane. I'm very honest with myself. I get it. There's roles I wouldn't try because I know I wouldn't do it justice. My brother is an actor. There's a reason why he has an Oscar. You understand me? That radio performance, what? You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? Like I attempted it. I didn't say, I can never do that. I'm not going to try it. No, I'll try it. Let me see what and I made an ass of myself. You know what I mean? I wasn't able to connect in the way that he was able to connect. I thought I was doing fine until I saw people snickering behind the camera like, thanks for coming in. I'm like, this isn't a comedy. I don't know why they're laughing. But I know my lane, right? This role was not only my lane, but it was, it's me if I made a left instead of a right, if I didn't have a praying mother at home, if I didn't have guys around me that understood the assignment, if I didn't know what I had to lose around me at all times, right? I wasn't the type to hang out with like celebrities. There's a couple that I've worked with that I connect with, Jason Weaver, Merlin Santana. These are the type of guys who connect with reality like I do. I'm serious. Like a lot of these people, oh, you hung out with this guy? Well, no, hell no. I'm not hanging out with him. He does, they do different stuff. And there's the other sides of Hollywood. You know what I mean? It's like there's a cocaine side and there's a marijuana side. Let's just be honest. Some people like to party. Marijuana is all we need to do. Maybe a little drinking and that's it. Then there's people that need more. I don't understand those people because when I get drunk and I get high, I can get to the point where wait a minute, I'm already not myself no more. What would I need something else? I don't need to go no further than almost fighting and almost dying or almost going to jail. I don't need nothing more than that. You know what I mean? So the people that are casually doing that all the time, that's just not my type of people, you know? But if you do a little bit of this and a little that, and that was kind of like the rift between me and Tyrese. He was more on, I wouldn't say he doing like the hard drugs and no shit like that, but it was quite the opposite. I was like, yeah, you hit this, I don't smoke. Damn, we drink something, I don't drink. Oh, wait a minute. Well, I don't think, there's no connection with us. That's just is what it is. And then I was kind of on this standoff type of thing. But anyway, so the guys around me were, street. You know what I'm saying? Like if I get into something, I want to know the dude beside me can fight. I don't want to know because he's famous. I'm not relying on security to be there in time. You know what I mean? You better be able to take care of your own. If we turn around back to back, I got them, you got them. You know what I mean? We able to get down. Like that's how I get down. So, a lot of close friends of mine were in gangs and were affiliated and so forth and so on. And that's just what it was. So a lot of the situations in the script I could absolutely relate to. But being that I have something to lose, like I've been in the fights, I've been in street altercations. Luckily, TMZ and all the tabloid, and all that. Not social media wasn't what it is now back then. So a lot of this stuff, take my word for it, it happened. But I've had head up fades. These are the guys I'm with. Like, oh, we ain't gonna protect you like that. If you talking shit one-on-ones, okay, cool. I've had those. You know what I mean? That's fine, right? But there's also been the altercations we don't win. Just keep it on it. There's too many of them. We actually got attacked. One man's on the floor bleeding. I'm holding him in my arm. Ambulance coming, like a movie, right? Now it's what we gonna do. It's always that happens, and then there's retaliation. I can't be part of the retaliation. I was a part of the initial situation. All right, cool. And they like, all right, we on our way out. I'm like, let's go. And they know, let's go. You can't, you know what I mean? So to read this script, and I'm actually the dude that they call, like, nah, these niggas jump me. Let's go get them. Woo! It was something inside me that was like, yo, you get to get this out. Now, I know it's just a movie, but as far as being able to portray it and live it, the key to acting is not acting. That's what people don't understand. Don't act. If they say action and you're like acting now, that's not acting, bro. You just have to be the part, live the part, do the part, right? But in that same vein, you have to be careful with the roles you choose because that shit gets in your spirit. Now, if it's already a part of your, or some part of your character in some way, or maybe you in an alternate reality or whatever, you can live it. You can be that role. You know what I'm saying? But I'm not doing nothing about, I'm a killer or a devil worshiper or some type of shit to get in my spirit. I'm playing with, you know what I'm saying? And then all that, a lot of that stuff, man, you got to be careful with mental health stuff. You know what I mean? All of that shit that gets in your spirit. That's why we see a lot of arts imitating life. That's why you see a lot of people that get in relationships in movies and then they continue those relationships in real life because they made an actual connection. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, so again, so the first part of Baby Boy was how to get the part. And I know everything starts with the look aesthetically. How do I? No, I looked at myself in the mirror. I'm like, well, let's see. Shaved my head off, bald, right? I was 260 some odd pounds, big guy. You know what I mean? And I was like, okay, it's time to hit the gym. I started doing push-ups. Like I'm already going, this nigga got to be fresh out of jail. Well, okay, whoa. And I remember I had a conversation with John. I said, what do you see this guy look-wise? Like, should I grow my hair out and do like braids? Or do you think I should be bald? He said, bald. I said, good, because I just shaved my head. So perfect. We on track there. He says, I'll see you at Lamert Park at my office in 3 months. That's a good amount of time to get ready for a role, bro. Especially when you're 24 years old. So I was 260 when he called me. I was a little under 230 3 months later. That's 20-year-old, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, bam, just off of push-ups and let's start drinking water type shit. And I walk in and I read the script with John. It's me and John in there. I think there was a casting person that was, because he didn't read with me. So he had a casting director reading with me and he was sitting there watching, boom, boom, boom. And, first thing he said to me, he's like, damn, all right, you look good. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, tank top on, head was bald. Like, all right, let's read, man. And we read and we go through it. I think we went through each scene twice. And at the end of it, he was like, good shit, man. Good shit. Thanks for coming in. Appreciate you. I said, appreciate you. I walked out feeling good. All right. Usually with an audition, you hear something back in the next couple of days. On rare occasions, maybe a week goes by just to hear something. I didn't hear nothing for 3 weeks. Then it was almost a month to the day. And I get a phone call from my mom in the evening at that. I'm out and about doing my thing. Mom's called, hey, guess what? You got that part. And I'm like, what part? So remember that audition you had with John Singleton? I said, get the fuck out of here. Yeah, I wanted to say my mama. I said, get the heck out of here. This is black mama. So I said, get out of here. Really? No way. So I was excited, but it was still a process. So now, first day was the table read. Now the table read happens. I show up for the table read. And I remember getting out of the car and I saw a friend of mine, a female friend of mine. And I know that she's friend with another female friend of mine that I know through acquaintance, Angel Conwell. And she steps out of the car and I'm like, yo, what's up? Hey, how you doing, girl? Who you here with? She said, I'm here with Angel. I said, Angel's here? Yeah. Oh, Angel, what's up, girl? Well, we hugged it out. What's up? What you playing? She said, yeah, I'm here. It's the table read, but they have me reading Snoop's girlfriend. And I remember going, I don't think Snoop has a girlfriend. I mean, he has Taraji that plays a baby mama, but I don't think. Anyway, we'll see what's up. When we sit down and he sits her right next to me, I said, let me look at your role. No, girl, you playing my girlfriend. She's like, what? And it's cool because we already had a connection. We knew somebody through a friend of ours, mutual acquaintance. So that had our bond right there. Like we knew each other. We both like, oh, it's gonna be dope type of thing. So that's how that started happening. But back to the character itself. The character, Sweetpea, we all see where he got to. But this is how he got there. It started with me having a lot of energy and having talent, but I still need to be aim and shoot. Something about a director. This is what the thing about John Singleton. Not only was he the best motivator that I've ever worked with, and I'll tell you in a minute how he motivated me, but he was also he was uncanny with knowing what's inside of somebody and then having to bring it out. I guess that's part of motivating. Everybody you think about that's been in most of his films, they're from something. They weren't just like this great actor that he just put in his film. No, there was somebody like a rapper, you know what I mean? Or an unknown actor or somebody that did comedy, not known for, you know what I'm saying? He was like, let me show you what I can do with an actor. So anyway, so I got through the table read. Table read was fine. Still, it was more me, just high energy, doing a little too much, quite honestly. And then we got into doing rehearsals. Now, the rehearsals weren't rehearsals of every scene. They were just, we would do acting exercises. Now, all I had taken up until that point was drama class, art, and, so forth and so on in high school. And I went regular high school, no public school. I mean, no private school, nothing like that. Regular public school, North Hollywood High School. And, I took theater in the sense of we would do plays and whatnot, stage plays. Plus we had like competitions every year, the DTASC and whatnot. And I wound up taking first place. That's another story. So that was the training. But we didn't do like improv exercises, word association and all that type of stuff. We never do that. So I wasn't really hip to those type of, So I was just kind of coasting through it, figuring I got the role, feeling cocky. And at the end of the second or third rehearsal, John Singleton says to everybody at the end, is all right, not bad, everybody. Next one is tomorrow. And looks right at me in my face and said, but some of us need to step it up, right? And I'm like, what the hell are you calling me out for? To piss me off. So I couldn't sleep, couldn't wait to get back to the next day. And when I got there the next day, the first word association thing was we all sit in a circle. And he was like, who wants to go first? And I was like, me. I was fired up, you know what I mean? And I've told that story a bunch of times, so I want to give you a different angle of what happened that day. What happened is I was motivated to be great, to be better, to step it up so much that at the end of it, my man Ving Rhames was like, damn, man, what'd you take, acting class overnight? And that was a real strong, significant thing to say because that sounds like an insult. Like you wasn't yesterday, bruh, but you was a whole different beast today. Like, what the hell happened? What the hell happened? And, I just was like, yeah. So again, I'm confident again, but I'm still too loud. I'm too loud. When I'm saying my lines, I'm yelling everything, da-da-da-da-da-da. John Singleton just kind of looked at me and in the word, he said, you have to internalize it, bro, but you have to shut the fuck up. You got to, loudest one in the room is the weakest one in the room. Why are you the loudest one in the room? That's not this character. Think about it. And it turned into, how do you yell but shut the fuck up? How do you can say what you want to say? Oh, okay. Now I'm talking through my teeth. That was Sweetpea. What the fuck I got to do? What I got to tell you? You know what I mean? But I want to talk like this. Shut the fuck. Oh, okay. And the final piece, if you will, was the eyes. I always think about Rocky 3, Eye of the Tiger, when Apollo Creed sees Rocky lose and then takes him to his gym in his hood and says, look at these fighters. You see their eyes? They got the eye of the fucking tiger. That's what Sweetpea needed in here. Not this happy eyes always smiling and grinning, but look what these niggas, look what we've had to go through. Look what we have to endure. It's all in these eyes. And This man that went to prison, got out, thinking he's getting a second chance, but he's not been given a real chance because he's a convicted felon. He's trying to approach people and talk to people. He doesn't have the social skill. He ain't blah, blah, blah. But look at his eyes. So I went, I'm not from a hood or a project. I was homeless. We had money. We lost it. We went living in cars and homeless shelters and so forth and so on. We were in hotels. Then we were in an apartment. Then I made some money. And then I finally got my mom into a house, right? But I've been in maybe two hoods, right? I had a partner, one of the day ones is from Compton, and he took me to his project. I remember I said, when we walked in, I said, okay, you know what I mean? But I wasn't just hanging out every day. No, he took me to his home, you know what I mean? The brother Big Cat from 6-0 Crib was the one kind of shadowing everybody and kind of saying, nah, that's more authentic there. Nah, niggas wouldn't do that and da-da-da, for Baby Boy. And he said, I'm gonna take you to my hood. And I remember he looked at me and said, yeah, something pop off, don't be no fucking weenie. And I was like, I'm trying to look for some shit to do after niggas say that. But I'm going in this hood and he's just kind of like, just chill out. And I'm like, cool. So we get there and we're looking around and, just regular niggas. But you can see their eyes that if some shit pop off, it's going down. You know what I mean? You can see it in your, and it's hard to describe it, but I could see it. And I look at it and I'm like, okay. And again, I'm thinking about the gym when they niggas box and they looking at that nigga like, yeah, you the champ and all, but I beat your ass. Like, you know what I mean? And that's by the time I left from visiting his, you know what I'm saying, and get back to the set, it was just like, yeah, I got Sweetpea now. Then it was easy. It was the easiest time I've ever had. That's how long it took to get in character. I talk about my weight. I was 260 when I got the phone call. I was 198 on the first day of filming. I had a trainer that I was working out 5 a.m. and all this shit. So it was physically a lot. But once I had that, it was like, let's go. We was smoking, drinking in between take, we was just living. We was in the hood playing domino, boom, boom. Everywhere we shot was authentic. The scene where I pulled the belt off and shit was right in the middle of the jungles. You know what I mean? Security wasn't on point. 3 Bloods was standing in front of me while I was dressed. I said, turn around. I had to change a shirt and I took the shirt off and shit and put it down. I was putting on the other shirt. I looked up. I was like, where did these niggas come from? They're like, nah, blood, we just want you to put on this red beanie. And I was just like, I looked over here and all security came walking over. Oh, you can't be here, da da da. And I was like, I'm like, no, we in they hood. This ain't, you know what I'm saying? You the visitor on me. But anyway, but yeah, man, it was such a great experience, bro. And then, the politics of it all muddied it up a little bit because, you gotta kind of get along. You know what I mean? Hollywood is definitely a lot of who you know type of thing. Everybody plays and they got their group and they faction and blah, blah, blah. And you got to learn to socialize without being antisocial. And I think that was my main problem in the film where I knew what I had to prove. I had so much on the line after reading this script. People would say to my face, oh, you playing Sweetpea? Good luck, And I was like, oh, you'll see. You know what I'm saying? But I remember driving off the set, Snoop pulled up and he looked at me. He's like, hey, man, you doing your thing. I'm seeing the dailies of what you're doing. Keep it up, cuz. I was like, my nigga. And I felt like, oh, that was dope for him to say that he didn't have to say that. It wasn't like, hey, anybody want to give suggestions? No, you know what I mean? So, meeting Angel. So, we're still cool to this day. I also worked with her later on Family Time. And she played my wife, which was awkward on my home life. But it was these real connections that I made that movie special. And even the riffs, it's like, you didn't have to be so rude or standoff about it, right? But I was kind of in character. And that kind of goes back to when I say about you got to choose your roles because it does get in your soul. I got into street fights after that, like head up phase type of, before the movie came out. Yeah, we got into some shit. And it was like, okay, nigga, shake it off. Nigga. Just get back to, you know what I'm saying? You ain't got no kids or nothing to make it home to. So, I was a little extra before I started having kids. I would, it's just like, hey, this is me. What's happening? I'm not trying to do anything. I'm just living. You want to go to a club? Let's go to a club. The last fight I got into, we was walking into a club. That's all. Somebody said something. My homie said something back. Next thing you know, we taking off jackets and shit. You know what I'm saying? Where now it's just, but it was still, niggas used to squab. So anyway. What was the original question?
So you got caught up into that Sweetpea role to the point where you was actually getting into fights?
Yeah, I got into, I don't say fights plural. That was, up to that point, yeah. Since then, no, I've kind of had more sense about it. There's a couple of real life decisions I made based off of that night where I was like, I was fighting. I don't think I've ever told you about this. So I felt like the fight was going on too long because I'm used to being a big guy. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? I know it was just a movie and all, but I had the one hit a quitter. Bow, I hit you. That's the fight is over. I'm swinging on this dude. He's bigger than me, so I'm like, why am I? We was fighting. Like it was going on, and I'm like, I felt like I didn't have power. I'm like, I need to be Big O again. I remember I sat in the seat at 198. I sat in the seat. I said, how did I fit in this little ass seat? I need my, you know what I mean? So, I'm not trying to make an excuse for being bigger. I'm just saying, I knew I needed some weight back on me. You know what I mean? So I kind of was a conscious effort to kind of be like, yeah, all right. You know what I mean? Anyway, that's